All right, you guys all saw the title. This is the story of how my brand new $3,000 camera was stolen. And, let's just talk about it. And hopefully there's some lessons in here and things that people that might be in the same situation can learn in the future. So let's take this back to the beginning. So the camera in question is the S1 Mark II from Lumix. It just came out, and originally I wasn't gonna buy it. But I think like many people, I jumped in on the build sale that B&H had going for it, which turned this like $3,300 camera down to like a $2,800 camera, which was just about doable for me. So of course I ordered it, and pretty soon I realized it was gonna take a little while to get to me. In fact, about a month. See, this camera ended up being pretty popular, it seems, and they needed to wait for the second batch to come in. So I was waiting, counting the days, asking B&H for updates, and eventually I kind of found out through Lumix and B&H and everybody, there's a shipment in about a month, and that should be fine. And I was almost guaranteed to get in on that order. Great, I can wait a little bit, right? Not a big deal. And yeah, I'm sure you guys also know that feeling of like new equipment coming in, wanting to test it out, being excited. And that was me. I had some beautiful weddings and films and other things like that I wanted to test this camera out on. And so I was like, okay, this timing's going to be basically perfect. But here's where the next problem came in. See, it actually shipped a little bit faster than I thought it was going to, and it ended up being scheduled for delivery on a Saturday. And this particular Saturday, I was at a wedding out of town. And so I wasn't going to be back till Sunday or even Monday to pick it up. So they attempted to deliver it on Saturday and called me actually. And I said, you know what, just hold it at the warehouse. I'll come and pick it up on Sunday or Monday. It'll be great. So went about my day, filmed the rest of the wedding, and came back into town. And by Monday, I was ready to swing by the FedEx warehouse and pick it up. So I'm in my car. I go to the warehouse. This is clearly not an office. This is like a legit warehouse. I have to go through security. They lift a gate for me. Yeah, I'm here for a package for Rhett Thompson. Okay. They send word down to the warehouse, and someone goes to retrieve my package. So they hand the box to me. It's got a nice weighty feel to it. I was like, oh, here we go. And I was gonna take it home and unbox it on camera and all this stuff. And I said, you know what? I cannot wait. I gotta see this thing. So I opened it right there in the FedEx warehouse parking lot. And here's where our story really begins. See, what I found in that box was, well, I'll just have you take a look.
So that is an interesting looking camera. What in the world?
So yeah, the B&H tape had been ripped apart, replaced with generic packing tape, and my beautiful S1 II, which I had all these big plans for, had been replaced by whatever that was. Yeah, it took me a while just to process what was going on, but immediately I was like, okay, I need to tell somebody, right? And so I waved down a guy. The guy came back, and they said, wait here, because our head of security is at this facility today. So he came and talked to me, and I was just like thinking about what could have possibly happened and going through all these different things in my head. But really quickly after talking to me, they were pretty sure, first off, the security guy took it very seriously. He was pretty set on finding whoever had done this and whatever had happened. And he said, just go file a claim with B&H, go home, you'll be good. And so that's what I did. I gave him back the package, which in retrospect, maybe I should have kept it, but I gave him back the package. I went home, and on the way home, I called B&H. I told them what happened, and they said this was gonna have to file a claim. And typically B&H is really good with stuff like this for me. So I was like, oh, they'll probably ship me out a camera like today even. But when a camera goes missing, I think there's a little bit more of a process that needs to happen. So I actually had to go fill out a physical piece of paper, like go to FedEx, which is kind of ironic now I think about it. But I went to a FedEx place, I printed out the form, I filled it out, I took a picture, and I sent it back in. And I just asked for a refund. So this is actually, it felt like this process was gonna take a little while. So I actually found an alternate S1 II. So moral, I just was like, whatever, I think I'm going to refund it. Let's just buy this somewhere else. So I actually hit up Anthony Rodriguez, who I found out had been selling an S1 for about $3,000. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And he shipped it out to me and I used it for that wedding, that weekend of weddings and things like that. And it was beautiful. My thoughts on this camera, we're going to talk about that in a future video. So definitely stay subscribed to check that out. And also head over to Anthony's channel and, send him a comment, say Rhett sent you, and, just shout out again for him being so chill about this and super helpful. But it turns out the B&H thing would have been resolved a little bit sooner than I thought. I think they just didn't tell me anything because they weren't sure if my claim would get, approved, but it did. And they refunded me like right away. It was like a day after I submitted it. So overall, a pretty smooth experience with B&H. Anyway, that leads me to the advice portion of this video. And that really is just going to be film your unboxings. Even if you're not a YouTuber, even if you're not a content creator, if you're a normal videographer, cinematographer out there ordering this stuff, sit down, set up your iPhone and open it on camera. Because I feel like in my situation, if I had taken it home and not recorded that interaction of me opening it, I wonder what that situation would have looked like from an optics standpoint. I go home, I unbox it alone, not on camera, and I say, hey, you guys send me a piece of metal. I don't know if it would have turned out poorly, but the fact that I was in the FedEx lot, I unboxed it basically in front of all their security cameras. They could have searched my car. I would have offered it if they asked me to. And yeah, it just was like, I think that had a lot more credibility to my story. The other thing is FedEx took that box back. I should have taken a lot more pictures of that box. So take a bunch of pictures of the box, take a video of you unboxing it, and get as much evidence as you can that it wasn't you that tampered with the item, because that was my biggest fear. And the other piece of advice here is you might not get as lucky as I did with Anthony Rodriguez's camera. And even if I didn't have his camera, I would have survived. I have a lot more cameras, but never rely on a new piece of gear you're ordering to complete a job. Like order it way in advance, make sure it arrives on time, doesn't get delayed, make sure it doesn't get stolen, make sure you have time to learn it and know what you're doing to use it. And so do not wait to the last minute to order cameras like this. In my situation, it was different with a pre-order, but don't rely on a new piece of gear on any shoot that you have, even within the same week as that shoot, because anything that goes wrong is going to really mess things up. So that's probably my other piece of advice. Don't buy a new piece of gear with no backup plan and expect it to arrive on time and you to be able to learn it on time for a paid gig. Just don't do it. But I guess the biggest question here is, who actually stole the package? Well, I am leaning towards one of the two suspects. I think the options are obviously like a FedEx employee or B&H employee, right? And I'm leaning towards one of them. So Exhibit A is just going to be the opportunity factor, right? I think a FedEx employee or the myriad of FedEx employees over all the stops between New York and Chicago and my house that there's just so many more opportunities for a FedEx employee to recognize the B&H tape, realize B&H sells cameras, rip it open, replace it Indiana Jones style with a piece of metal, and just send it on its merry way. Even in the New York side of things, because then it would have been shipped and the weight was accurate. No one would have thought twice. Exhibit B is just going to be the tape. Now, I don't know if you guys order from B&H much, but B&H, MPB, a lot of these places have specific packaging that they use. And one, this was unfortunate because this might have been how the thief identified this as a camera, but it also helped in my case because the B&H tape was ripped and replaced with generic packing tape. Now, if I was a B&H employee and I didn't want to arouse any suspicion, I think I would probably replace it with more B&H tape, right? Or take the camera before you even put the B&H tape on in the first place. Now, if you're a FedEx employee, you're not going to have access to this special tape. And so ripping the B&H tape in a very subtle way and replacing it with generic packing tape and putting the labels over the top of it, having the weight correct, that points to me like a FedEx. I don't think a FedEx employee, I should say. I don't think that really makes sense. Like, I guess if the B&H employee is playing three-dimensional, four-dimensional chess, and they're like, if I use regular packing tape, they're gonna think it was a FedEx employee and not a B&H employee. I don't think that's happening. And I guess the biggest piece of evidence is the security guy from FedEx actually called me, and he was telling me that they're pretty sure they found who did it and it won't be a problem going forward. So again, I have to say very few or no complaints from FedEx or B&H. And even if something like this does happen, it's nice to know that they're going out of their way to search through dozens and dozens of hours of security footage to find out who did this, because, that is just, not great. I mean, I don't know this person's situation or struggles or whatever, but it's still wrong, I guess, to do something like this. And it sounds like they're going to take care of it on their side, which is good because FedEx has been insanely reliable for me for any other thing. And so, that is a story about how I bought, lost, and then finally got my hands on the Lumix S1ii, which actually has been filming this video right now in this new space. Sorry, it's a little messy in here. Just moved, and I'm figuring out how this new studio is going to work. It's a little bit crazy, but that was my little story time. Hopefully you guys were entertained by that, maybe learned something from that, and know, hopefully how to protect yourself as a consumer, because cameras are expensive. They're targets and for theft, and anything you can do from purchasing to unboxing to using them out in the field, just be safe, use common sense, be aware of your surroundings, and have insurance. Insurance is really good, but that's more for like other types of stealing. Again, B&H, FedEx, everybody did a great job, and I've very few complaints. That's it. All right. Thanks again, guys. If you want to hear my thoughts on like a month of owning this thing, 3 weeks of owning this thing, whatever it's going to be when I put the video out, definitely subscribe to get more Lumix filmmaking and S1ii content here in the future. Like, comment, subscribe. And if you did subscribe, I'm going to see you when I see you. All right, guys, take it easy.